So what we've deployed in General Motors is really this proactive data governance process. It looks at how do we make our teams accountable, consistent, and adaptable through global processes that can be reused on all our data products. It starts first with our process deliverables. So we have a data governance policy and now an AI governance policy. Within those policies, we set the expectation of how people should execute, and we've defined roles and described what ownership is. So that covers us in terms of who's accountable for what. We this year stood up a data stewardship community, and that community allows us to, by domain, and I'll talk a little bit about what domains are for GM in the next slide, but by domain, we identify the people that understand and steward the data, act as its custodians. They help us define the business rules and then also define guidelines and standards for how data should be managed. That moves us towards being consistent with our data governance processes. And then we have to be adaptable because our data governance team is never going to be an army of people in every stretch of the globe, really. We need to have technical solutions that are adaptable. We've deployed 6 technical solutions that allow us to do proactive governance. We have an internal metadata management repository that allows us to connect directly to our GitHub repos, collect YAML files, protobuf files, model cards, dataset cards, and other metadata specifications into that repo, and then expose it to our data catalog, Atlan, so that we can catalog all data sets and analytic models and show that view of technical, business, operational, and social metadata. We also have a data quality platform that we've rolled out. So we use that metadata to drive 20-ish essential checks that meet the AI governance or AI legislation that's coming out there. Much of the legislation talks about having a minimum standard of data quality. So we've identified about 20 essential checks that need to be on all data sets that are to be used in AI and ML development. And we have a platform now where we can automatically deploy those rules using the metadata that we've collected. Within the catalog, we also have data lineage. So Atlan reflects out to us the data lineage of where the data came from and where it's going. We can apply classification right within the catalog. So the catalog Atlan allows us to have a UI that our stewardship community can use to edit, update, and manage to get classifications as well as other metadata enrichments into a verified state. Those tags and enriched metadata drive what our data access is as well. So we have a tool in the data access space that allows us to deploy policies at a very high level to address all the different categories of data that we have and put us into a compliant state with the legislation and expectations that people have for data within General Motors space or environments. And then the last thing that we developed was a data classification utility that we've used to classify 98% of our cloud data sets. It uses some ML to predict what classification is if the metadata is incomplete. We put those classifications into the catalog, and that's where the steward has the opportunity to review that draft data classification and then move it to that verified state through a workflow that we have in the catalog. All of these things together allow us to deploy accountable, consistent, and adaptable global processes for proactive data governance.